All right, now, what's up, everybody? Wednesday, 9 to noon. Paul Allen, Nordo, FM 100.3, KFAN, 651 Carpets Plus Studios. Good morning. Vikings and Niners this weekend. It's on the minds of those in the Covenant and those in the Pulling for the Purple Covenant. These 49ers. Somebody's lying up in here. I mean, it's a he said, Shanny said. After Monday's W over the Jets, 49ers coach Kyle Shanahan was asked by an ESPN reporter about Christian McCaffrey and his injury situation. And that that there was a report that McCaffrey wouldn't play in the second game, which happens to be here at the House of Pain, Sunday, noon, KFAN, pregame 10. And Shanahan said to a reporter, quote, "It's amazing. That person must be God. We just found out he wasn't playing today. I thought," talking about McCaffrey, "I thought he was playing all the way up to today."
Oh my gosh, you are above average at that.
All right. Next level Shanny obviously had no idea on the field when interviewed right after the game. Running back Jordan Mason said he has known he was starting since Friday night.
I always love that one.
which for teams is after, all right, so the game was on a Monday. So that means Wednesdays, Thursdays become Wednesdays, Fridays become Thursdays, and so on. So for this situation, after a Thursday practice up to a Monday night game, it's not really a Thursday. So according to Mason, he knew into the final practice of the week, which would be Saturday, and then the super special mock game NFL teams run days before games, that'd be Sunday. He was the starting running back because Christian McCaffrey wasn't going to play.
Oh my gosh.
But next level's like, I gave him a chance to play all the way to today.
I always love that one.
Which was Monday. When did lying become fresh? Sunday at noon, it's the Minnesota Vikings against the San Francisco 40 Liars. Florio in 30 to see what he thinks. And Nordo, speaking of the game, has uncovered a pressure point for us for this weekend's game against Debo and the gang. And good morning.
Good morning. Looking for more plays like this, first of all, with pressure points. Get your story straight, Niners fans.
From their own 10, Darnold, shotgun again, four-man rush. Sam loops one. Jefferson, yes! At the 45 near side. It's a 43-yard hit. Darnold to Justin Jefferson. And that's a connection we're going to learn to love all season.
I know he only had 60 yards on Sunday against the Giants, PA, but I'm feeling a JJ game. A trademark JJ game this weekend. My first pressure point is about the guy that's going to be getting Justin Jefferson the ball on Sunday against the Niners. That's Sam Darnold. And how Sam Darnold handles third downs, PA.
The 40 Liars.
The 40 Liars. I love that. Two guys speaking at roughly the same time, saying completely different things and how they'll handle it this week. Sounds like Christian's in trouble and maybe not playing this weekend, by the way.
Vikes bites 10:33, right?
Vikes bites 10:33.
Thank you.
The Vikings were 3 of 10 on third down. And that's probably, against the Giants. And that's probably... In a box score and on a day that had so many positive things, I would say that was probably the one true negative stat for the Purple. So 3 of 10 on third down.
Yeah.
Munt short of the sticks. A couple of those just trying to get out alive and let the clock run at the end of the game. So let's put all of this. Context is king, as we handled at the open of yesterday's show. Couple of third downs on touchdown drives, by the way, PA. There was a 3rd and 8 that was extended because of defensive pass interference. That was the first touchdown of the day for the Vikings. I believe the one coming out of half, the third quarter touchdown, there was a 3rd and 16 and a face mask involved.
But it was the Giants. Oh, wait, that was yesterday.
But that was yesterday. Now it's the 40 Liars. The pressure point this week. And I'm bringing this to the Jets. I'm bringing it to Aaron Rodgers.
Pressure point provided by
It's open for business, by the way.
Open for business. We'll do it each and every day. Come on in here.
The first quarter touchdown drive by the Giants, I was fascinated by it in terms of thinking about how the Vikings approach the Giants and how they'll approach the Niners on Sunday. Mm-hmm. It was a 12-play, 70-yard drive executed by Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. They faced a 3rd and 8 and 2 3rd and 7s. All 3 of those conversions went to Garrett Wilson. There was a great 50-50 opportunity on the boundary, and then a couple of them through the middle.
Damn, you went to deep diving, didn't you?
Well, it's because this is the only issue that I could find out of Sunday offensively. I mean, the interception, we didn't like that, obviously, but Dexter Lawrence is allowed to make plays too. These were situations where the Jets committed to getting Breece Hall going, and they just couldn't. And it left them in spots where conversions were low percentage, 3rd and medium, 3rd and longer. And Aaron Rodgers found a way to convert all 3 of those. For the Vikings, whether it was the offseason and certainly a big element of the win against the Giants, was committing to getting Aaron Jones going. And against the Niners on Sunday, Aaron Jones has to be a thing. It doesn't have to be 30 for 140, but it has to be present in this conversation when we look back at playing the 40 Liars, and I'm doing fan line, and you're listening on your way back to Eden Prairie.
Think I'm not?
But for Sam Darnold, the Vikings did a good job against scheming against that Giants front, and they need to be good again against Nick Bosa, Malik Collins, Javon Hargrave, Leonard Floyd. They combined against the Jets 8 tackles, a sack, and 3 hits on Rodgers. So the key for me, the pressure point, as I look first at this weekend, is we saw their ability to be explosive and extend drives and ultimately close on 4th down on that 99-yard scoring performance. Loved that. First time since for Rott to be burying for 99 and 08.
Yep.
Sam Darnold is going to be put in a spot, in multiple spots on Sunday, where he's going to have to extend the drive on 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, potentially longer, depending. Let's be a little more might you say, disciplined with our penalties on Sunday.
And then they can get a first down, and after the game, next level Shanny will lie and say somebody was short.
I always love that one.
And so I'm looking at Sam and how poised and how in control and on time that he was in this offense. And that's where defensive fronts have the opportunity to affect plays, affect games. This is an offense in which Darnold is at his best when he's able to be on time. Yeah. Terrific plays like that highlight I played over the top to Justin Jefferson. That is not just a beautiful throw, but it's an on-time throw. And all of this is going to start with the quarterback. And the Niners, this defense is so damn good. The defense has names across the board. And when we do a little coach speak later, you'll hear from the offensive coordinator, Wes Phillips, talking about just that. And on a defense that makes it as difficult and as suffocatingly impossible as they can for you to score points, extending drives and converting those third downs is an absolute boilerplate pressure point. And it starts with Sam Darnold being on time and being poised in those moments. The 3 of 10 on third down against the Giants is okay when you get pick sixes and you're dominating the way you are. 3 of 10 on third down against the Niners is absolutely unacceptable. It will result in a loss. And that is my first pressure point, is Sam, the man on the fan, handling business on third downs.
Yes, because you're jumping up from a $20,000 claimer at the Meadowlands to a stakes race in the Twin Cities. So therefore, when things like that, 30% on third down, transpire, they're markedly more magnified because of the organized nature of the opponent able to capitalize consistently on said situation, which it comes back. A lot of this comes back to the fluidity of the game and the confidence displayed by the players wearing purple, white, and gold. And what I mean there is whether McCaffrey plays or not, I'd bet no, but I wouldn't bet a lot. A fast start in this game is imperative. Scoring early and somehow getting them into kind of pass first mode. That was, let's not forget last year when the Vikings beat the 49ers on Monday Night Football. I can't remember what they were on third down, but I think it was pretty good. And the A topic out of the game was how infrequently teams are able to get Kyle Shanahan out of his running game and force him to be a pass-first play caller. So to do that, you need to convert on third down.
They were 8 of 13, the Vikings were on third down. That's a nice one.
How key was that? I mean, seriously, specifically when they transpired, because most National Football League games are close in the first place. But if you get into meat grinders with teams who know how to get to the Super Bowl, then they know how to stop you on third down and convert third downs in very key spots at very pivotal times of games. So starting fast, you always want to start fast. You'll hear coaches say it all the time. But in this one, it's imperative. And converting on third down and handling the pressure of that pressure point, I find that to be absolutely tantamount. That was a good one.
Yeah, and you mentioned the starting fast aspect of it. If we are going to look back, and each game is different, right? Every game is a snowflake, PA. They did get the first touchdown on the board in the first quarter. Ultimately, they lead 10-0 midway through the first half.
Vikings did?
Vikings did.
Yeah.
And they're up. They get that late. Remember Jordan Addison? He gets a ball torn away from him, I think, by Charvarius Ward for an early interception for Kirk. Mm-hmm. Then he got him back, tearing that ball out of Charvarius Ward's hands and had that 60-yard TD just before the break. You're up 16-7. The Niners are not a team based, talking again. And again, going back to the Jets, they get that early touchdown, but their defense, as good as they can be, looked banged up. They had trouble, and Purdy and company just ran right through them with Jordan Mason. But we didn't have to chase in that game. Up 16-7, you're up by 9 at the break, and you're able, and things got weird, things got close as they always do, and then ultimately that huge hit on Purdy made him look like he had to have been playing with some. I mean, he was foggy on the backstretch of that game a year ago.
Oh yeah,
but you end up creeping and crawling towards a very dramatic fourth quarter. This can't be a game where you're chasing. And the 8 of 13 on third down,
yes,
paramount.
Sir.
This is also a team, by the way. Speaking to third downs on that 99-yard scoring drive, when the Vikings want to score points, they don't have a lot of third downs. It's a ton of explosion. It's a ton of that pass I played. That was a 2nd and 12 from the shadow of their own end zone. The deep one to JJ. This is a team that does not face a ton of third downs, but when they do, absolutely must convert them. 8 of 13 is a beautiful number from a year ago. 3 of 10 on Sunday. Negative stat, albeit in a very positive outcome. But this Niners team is probably the only team in the NFL that can take Christian McCaffrey out of the equation and actually be just as, if not more effective, not only in the run game. So they're asking Christian McCaffrey not always to get $140. They'll give him 80 yards in receiving to go with 70 yards rushing. But the ability to mix in Debo. Debo's an A-topic. George Kittle, he's happy, healthy, and motivated right now. Ayuk is trying to play basically himself into game shape. This is such a badass team. I don't want to chase those guys at all. Be good on third down, Sammy. And we got a shot on Sunday. And
it's only a Wednesday, and we're super excited for this game with our 1-0 team and the 49ers up here lying about everything.
PressurePoint!
When did lying become fresh?
I always love that one.
So indeed, we are creeping and crawling. It's 9 to noon. We're Snoop Doggy dogging.
Here we go, Paul!
And thanks to TimberTech and TimberTech.com. What's on deck 9 to noon today includes a Mike Florio, PFT, that's about 30 minutes from now. Super special Cindy, the Sultan of Smug, stops by the studio at 10 o'clock to analyze the Jordan Love situation and his Green Bay Packers. Vikes Bites 1033. And the Vox of all Voxes ever to Vox. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to U.S. Bank Stadium. Alan Roach will join us in the final hour. Nordo produces, and I'm Paul Allen. Around the corner, Cheryl Reeve, coach and president of basketball operations for the Minnesota Lynx. She will join us from Atlanta after a victory over the Dream last night, and you're listening to 9 to noon.
Ooh! Oh, good.
You homer!
9 to noon in search of Minnesota Lynx coach and president of basketball ops, Cheryl Reeve. Chatted with her a little bit yesterday before the Atlanta game. Set this thing up because your Lynx, your Lynx can win the WNBA title. Holy cow. And the meat grinder near the end of the season, the final week of the season next week, from a schedule making standpoint, it's quite entertaining, or it's quite interesting and or compelling, in that 2 of the final 3 games are against 2 of the very best in the WNBA, at the New York Liberty and at Connecticut, and 3 of the best teams in the league. You can put the Las Vegas Aces in there. They're the 4 seed, but they didn't play yesterday. But 3 of the better teams in the WNBA, your Minnesota Lynx, the New York Liberty, and Connecticut, those teams all won by a combined 40 points last night, and they were all road teams. So it's getting hot up in here, in as they call it the W. And we enjoy our conversations with Cheryl. If we happen to run her down, we will then chat with her about the state of the Minnesota Lynx, because that's we can be in face changing mode here 9 to noon. The Twins, the Twins, was that a walk off last night? It was a walk off, right?
I thought it was a lopsided victory.
Okay, was it lopsided? Well, I saw it's. I didn't know if it was the rally sausage bit. I didn't see the game. The rally sausage bit, about which I read on social media, had me believing there might have been a little walk-off to it. So I was going to look at the box score and the standings. I know Kansas City beat the New York Yankees behind Seth Lugo last night. And
Twins got all over them earlier. It was okay. Jeffers with an RBI single, and then it was Farmer with a 3-run shot.
Thank you.
They got after it. 10-5 was the final. But I did hear Rocco postgame talking about the presence of, or potentially, a sausage being in the mix.
Yeah.
And so,
and it was like decrepit.
I mean, when you've lost 6 of your last 7 or something like that, you need sausage in your life.
Rally sausage, though. So that is that's in deep stretch. I mean, we're in deep stretch there. We're in the early stages of the 2024 National Football League season, and we're charging down to the wire in the W with the coach being Cheryl Reeve, somebody I thoroughly enjoy chatting with when we get the opportunity, and that opportunity takes place right now. Cheryl, Paul Allen, congratulations on the win last night, and how you been?
Thanks, PA. Been good. It's been a nice stretch for our team, and we've got just a few more games as we get ready to try to make a deep playoff run.
Yeah, right. Next week's the final week of the season, the regular season, as I was mentioning, as we were calling you. And, we haven't talked since you made that move for Maisha Hines-Allen. And, I'm not an elite Washington Mystic mind, so I knew the name, but never watched her. She's quite physical, isn't she?
Yeah, she is. This is a player that's just 6'1" in height, but has a strength about her lower leg strength, her overall physical strength. And, she was somebody that when we had Sylvia Fowles, though she was giving up 4 or 5 inches, it was a tough matchup for Syl just because of her sheer strength and her ability to rebound. She's a good passer, just competitor, and overall really good instincts.
So this would be coach and president of basketball operations tinkering with the squad, having played, let's say at that point when you made the move late August, I don't know, 70% of the season or whatever, just kind of tinkering for the postseason and the end of the regular season, correct?
Yeah, I think we probably would describe it more as we had some playoff issues last season as we went into a playoff series with Connecticut, where we were just a little too thin in the post. And we found ourselves in the same place, and that when we started the season, the mindset for our team was that we were going to continue on a growth pattern, that we were, we had some young players from last year, and Simon and Dorka, and, we acquired young players, Sika Kone, our draft pick, Alyssa Peely. And as we moved through the season, our team quickly evolved into a championship contender. And so our mindset shifted a little bit at the trade deadline, that we felt like we needed just another veteran to secure a post rotation that was a little more comfortable for us, and we found ourselves, needing either a fourth post player or being able to move Collier to the 3 a little bit, and we felt like that would help us.
Well, getting Nafisa Collier at the 3. I mean, that should be a matchup headache for the opponent here and there, right?
Yeah, we've had a couple games where we were able to do that, and I thought it was a separation in a game. I think a couple games with Indiana, that proved to be true. Honestly, being able to get more paint scoring and see at the 3 allows us to do that because we can invert the offense like we've always liked to do, which is Maisha and Alana Smith playing at the 3-point line and Fee taking her mismatch into the paint. She's such a great cutter. And so points in the paint we also wanted to see if we could increase. And actually season high last night at 40 points in the paint. So, that came in different forms. But that's what's been on our minds. And so far Maisha has been really helpful to us.
Hey, Cheryl, in what ways does Rebecca Brunson best help you as an assistant?
Wow, that's a great question. There's a multitude of ways. I think in terms of, for me, I've always relied heavily on Rebecca's ability to identify a situation very succinctly and be able to kind of say, this is what she thinks is going on. So she can diagnose, I think, very, very well. With regard to the players, her understanding of what we like to do as Minnesota Lynx defenders, and just overall, sort of will or some of the intangibles that she played with that she could impart to players of like, hey, it's about, outworking and overachieving and that sort of mindset and how to help them and position them to do that. So there's a multitude of ways. I'm sure the players keep going more depth. But, and she's also become, I think, one of the things I've enjoyed the most about players is say they're never going to coach. When they get into coaching, Rebecca's thirst for analytics, diving into the video, I can guarantee you these are not things that she thought about when she was playing that she would be getting into, and that's she's really good at it.
Cheryl Reeve, coach and president of basketball ops for the Minnesota Lynx. They whooped Atlanta last night in a pretty close game, the majority of the game. The Dream got some players back that Cheryl's team hadn't seen earlier in the year, and they played tough, but metaphorical cream rose to the top late in the game, and they won by double digits. How would you describe Courtney Williams' game? I mean, she was just tearing it up at times last night.
Yeah, whenever she plays like that, and what was, when I say like that, when her mindset is on playmaking, and making decisions of when should she shoot her high percentage shot. She's got some hot zones that she's very aware of. If she can get to those spots, when it's appropriate time to do that, when it's an appropriate time to seek the penetration, make her pick and roll decisions, to get others involved, to get easy baskets for others. That's what I've really enjoyed. And she was doing that last night, recognition. And every once in a while there's a heat check in there, but we live with that. And but just, her understanding is when we're at our very best, she's at the core of it. And it's because she's playmaking and she's just such a good passer. And that was on display last night.
And she's a wonderful rebounding guard. And I would imagine she's one of the better rebounding guards in the WNBA, right?
Always has been, PA. Always been the top rebounding guard.
Wow. That's
not a new life for her. She was that in college. It's a translatable skill. And so that has been a hallmark of her career.
Mm-hmm. And I love, and this was not just last night. I love talking about Courtney Williams. I love watching you guys talk with each other during games because it has to be fast and it has to be quick twitch when she's in the game. And she's demonstrative and seems to have big opinions. Is that fair?
She's hilarious. The communication with her, I often walk away giggling about whatever it was. And and then I think with her, like her ability to recognize, she's a vet. her ability to recognize what needs to happen, and then she really, really appreciates feedback. She really appreciates if you see something, be it offense, defense, and I've really enjoyed having Courtney on the team, and big personality. I think in terms of opinions, but like in the very best of ways.
Yeah.
I think her teammates would tell you that as well.
Yeah, I'm not saying that she's a know-it-all who always has to be right. I don't know her,
Definitely not. Yeah.
I don't know the situation at all.
That's Eric Bruton.
But she definitely seems like she has some. Well, what do you mean to her? That was cool. Tina Charles is basketball immortality. Okay, a first overall pick in 2010. Holy cow! Now, her vertical at this stage may be 15, but holy cow, does she work hard. Mucho respect for her, right?
Yeah, no, she's played well, particularly after the big break as they tried to surge. And I think that's what's made our defensive effort pretty special last night is, Tina's had some big games and, of late and, double doubles and, the field goal percentage that, their big three shot against our defense, I was really, really happy with. And life was difficult for Tina. Rarely was there something easy. I give her a lot of credit with her persistence on the offensive glass to try to generate the easy ones. But we held that team to 30% last night, and they were playing extremely well. 22%, I think it was, from three. And Ryan Howard, a special basketball player, and Elisa Gray, their big three, was really, really playing well. And so I was thrilled that our defense got back to that high level.
All righty now, Coach, playoff start in a week and change. And you'd get Phoenix in the best of three to start. And I'm like all day in America with that, but I don't expect you to comment on that. But props to the schedule maker for your final stretch of games. They're just compelling. I mean, after Chicago on Friday, Cheryl's Lynx are at the top seeded Liberty, then at Connecticut, the 3 seed, just a game behind the Lynx. Tough, no doubt, but what a wonderful way to get ready for the playoffs, right?
Yeah, I think there's been stretches throughout the season that we felt like has been, really valuable to, help shape things for postseason. But 4 games in 7 days to finish, 7 out of 10 on the road. So I'm not sure if I share your enthusiasm for the schedule makers, but
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, sure, it works great.
Yeah.
From a narrative perspective, it's good for us for sure.
Yeah, but they're going to be fun to watch. I mean, yeah, I'm watching all the games, or most of them, believe it or not, still, and just like the way you
That's great to hear. That's great to hear, PA.
Well,
you're able to actually find it, and you were struggling with that a little bit earlier, so I'm glad to hear that you're able to. Old people had to make some changes, and old people had to look in the mirror a little bit, but we did that, and we watched the game last night on Bally Sports North Plus with Marnie and Leah B back here doing a great job, but thoroughly enjoyed it. Now, you guys, 2 to go. You guys have the best record in the WNBA since the Olympics at 10-1. Just overall, what are you liking about the squad? I like how we came out of the break, for sure. I thought that Katie and Rebecca and EP just really worked over the break. A testament to the players that were back here. Their goal was to be ready when we got Fee and Lana Smith and Bridget Carlton back from Paris and just hit the ground running. We knew it was going to be important, and they just have a great understanding of who they are, and they've got a strong belief in themselves and one another, and I mean we've done what we've needed to do in that regard.
And lastly, Cheryl, thanks for the time. Is Nafisa Collier a legit contender to win MVP, or Asia Wilson's heavily favored? Okay, I looked up some odds this morning. Maybe she's a cinch, even though her squad has slipped some of late. And you guys killed them 3 of 4 this year. What do you think about that?
Yeah, well, of course. I think legitimate, MVP contender. I think, the play of Asia Wilson, is some of her stats are historic. And so I do think it's a challenge, but I think it's a two-way race. It's not close, on who the two are. He does so many things for our team, and certainly I know that Asia has carried the Aces as they've navigated some of their tougher stretches, and so I just love that Fee and Asia. Both I'm a fan of both of them, and I don't think it's an easy choice for the voters, but congrats to both of them on having amazing seasons.
You, my friend, are fantastic as usual. Let's stay in touch and do this frequently if you have the time up to and or during the postseason. And please tell Chuck Barta that I say hello.
I will. Thanks, PA.
See you later. Cheryl Reeve, coach and president of basketball ops for the Minnesota Lynx, a 2 seed. Right behind the New York Liberty, barely ahead of Connecticut. When we return, PFT, here comes Mike Florio on KFAN.
PFT.
Mike Florio, Paul Allen, what's going on there, my buddy?
Hi, Paul. How are you, Paul?
Do you think, Bill, I'm doing well, thank you, and good morning. Belichick's going to coach the Giants next year, right? I mean, I saw something on PFT and then it just hit me like, wow, he's going to coach the Giants next year. Would you predict that?
Well, there was steam last year about him landing with the Cowboys, possibly the Eagles, and there's this lingering sense that maybe that's where he'll go, one of those two places. So if you're the Giants and you're faced with the possibility that he's going to go to one of those two teams, even if it's not a reality, even if you're concerned about the possibility, that might be when you swoop in and you empty out the front office and the coaching staff and you throw the keys to Bill Belichick, who has worked for the Giants in the past, was the defensive coordinator for 2 Super Bowl champions. And when there was some dysfunction in New England several years ago, Gary Myers, who at the time I think he was working for the New York Daily News, suggested that Belichick would like to coach the Giants. So the Giants make sense. I just wonder, this was one of the Sunday Splash reports from this week. Belichick wants to coach in 2025. That's not really news. We know that, right?
Yep.
But who will want him? At one point in the ESPN article, it said he's going to be choosy. Well, you can only be choosy if you have choices. He had one interview in the 2024 cycle, and the Falcons didn't want him. And there are dynamics at play that will cause people who are currently employed by a given team to not want Belichick to show up. He's going to have to counter that. And fundamentally and preliminarily, he's got to get a fan base to want him. I think that's why he's doing so much media, to the point where it's too much media. I don't know that a fan base is going to be clamoring for a guy who turns 73 next year to be the coach when he's got this reputation of being curmudgeonly and a little bit too in charge of everything when you consider the personnel decisions haven't gone well lately. I think that's the challenge. That's the concern. The Giants do make sense, but ultimately they've got to want to pull the trigger. And if they are looking for a coach, and based on week 1 it looks like they will be, then maybe that's where he goes. I just wonder what other options he might have.
Well said. What'd you think of the Vikings win? They only moved up a measly spot in your power rankings.
Well, I remember a day before your time in Minnesota. It was September in 2001. Steve Smith made his debut in the NFL with a kick return for a touchdown. Mm-hmm. Minnesota native Chris Winkie engineered a victory over the Vikings to start the 2001 season, and then the Panthers didn't win a single game after that. This is the reality of the first week in the NFL. You don't know, if you lose, how good that team is that beat you, and if you win, you don't know how bad the team is that you've beaten. It's very different from college, where, when Northern Illinois beats Notre Dame, you stepped on a rake if you're the Irish. And, when USC beats LSU, they know they've beaten a pretty good team. So I just think the Giants aren't very good, and I don't think it's a real indication of what's going to happen when the Vikings face this stretch of 49ers, Texans, and Packers.
Mm-hmm. If it seems Daniel Jones lacks confidence, and if that's accurate, how in the heck do you fix that?
Well, here's one way you don't fix it. You don't fix it by doing off-season hard knocks, which exposes to the world the lack of confidence you have in Daniel Jones.
Wow.
And your efforts to trade up to get somebody else. And this dawned on me when the Tua Tagovailoa stuff came out a few weeks back about Brian Flores, and he basically said, when you're constantly told that you suck and that you shouldn't be here and somebody else should be the quarterback, at some point you believe it. Same thing with the Giants and Daniel Jones. You turn on Hard Knocks, and you hear about how they're trying to find your replacement. At some point, you're going to believe you need to be replaced. And confidence is so critical to everything about playing quarterback in the NFL. Yes, you have to be good. I mean, if you're just confident without abilities, you're Brucey from the longest yard. You have to be able to throw and make all the decisions and do all the things. But if you don't have confidence, it makes it harder to do those things because others will sense that you don't have confidence. You'll make bad decisions. You'll hold the ball too long. You won't trust that a guy's open. You won't believe you can get the ball to him. It all just falls apart from there, and that's what we saw from the Giants on Sunday. And that's why I don't think that the average Vikings fan should take a look at Sunday's win and say anything other than, well, if we have any chance of being remotely relevant this year, 28-6 is exactly what we had to do in that game.
How stuck are the Packers without Jordan Love for at least a little bit?
Yeah, and my understanding is with that MCL sprain, first of all, the MRI went as well as they ever could have expected based upon what they believed on Friday night. We had video, not that we harvested it, but we ran a link to it that someone had posted of a close-up of the moment where it looks like something in his knee pops. Week 4, Week 5, or Week 6, that's when he's expected to come back. And obviously Week 4 would be against the Vikings. They're stuck with Willis. And fortunately, they traded for Malik Willis. It would have been Sean Clifford as the backup. That was one of the flags I raised in the preseason, like, hey, the Packers better have somebody better than Sean Clifford, all due respect to Sean Clifford, to be the backup to Jordan Love, because we saw plenty of quarterbacks get injured last year. We know it can happen, and boom, here it happens in Week 1. So they're going to need Malik Willis to get things figured out. There was a report they contacted Ryan Tannehill. He's waiting for, I believe, a season-ending injury, an opportunity to come in and be the guy the rest of the way, not just, well, I'll come and play for a couple of weeks and then be the backup and wait for the next injury to the starting quarterback. I think, like we saw with Joe Flacco last year, and it took until the middle of November, once you have a guy who is done for the year, that's when your best opportunity potentially arises.
Mike Florio, ProFootballTalk.com, of NBC's Football Night in America, also author. The most recent book is called Son of Mine.
Do you want a copy of it? I'm sending out copies to friends and colleagues and people who might want it. If you're actually going to read it, I'll send it to you. If you're not going to read it, I'm not going to waste my time or yours.
Well, no, you're not. Yes, I am going to read it, but there's not a deadline on when I have to read things. You know what I mean?
Well, I sent you Father of Mine last year when it came out.
And
you
Playmakers.
Haven't read that yet. How about this?
But I have them displayed prominently.
When you give me a 750-word book report on Father of Mine, I will send you the sequel. How about that?
I like when you open the cover of Father of Mine, you hear this.
That would be a nice touch. That would be a nice touch.
How great would that be?
Exists.
Yeah, that's
that would be a nice touch. But then they'd have to give money to whoever wrote that song. But yeah. When you finish Father of Mine and give me an appropriate book report that indicates you actually had some understanding of what was in the book, then I'll send you the sequel.
PFT, you know we. I can't believe Bengals fans saw that one coming. A home opener loss to the previously moribund New England Patriots. What in the heck happened there?
Well, you know, I didn't realize this until we showed the graphic on Monday's edition of PFT Live. Joe Burrow, as a member of the Bengals, Week 1 and Week 2, since he arrived in 2020, is 1-8, and the lone win came against your Minnesota Vikings, Week 1 of 2021, when in overtime, with less than a minute to play, Mike Zimmer decided to treat the 49-yard line like it was the end zone and put all the guys up there, and Joe Burrow did a little play action over the top, C.J. Uzomah, field goal walk-off winner for the Bengals. That's the only game they've won in Week 1 or Week 2 during his career. So that's part of it. I wonder whether Burrow is still injured. That right wrist showed up on the Week 1 injury report. And if you watch him on the sideline, there's a lot of the flexing of the thumb and the movement of the hand, and I wonder if the wrist is normal and if it ever will be normal. Not having Jamar Chase ready as he would have been if they would have signed him to a new contract before the season, before training camp started. And he went into Sunday unsure whether he was going to play. He went back and forth. Ultimately, he did play. I just think too many distractions. They usually start slowly. And the Patriots have a formula that could be successful when it's physical, run-based, smash-mouth. Most teams are high-flying, throw the ball now, and I think it gives you an edge when you're facing defenses that are built to and strategized to and accustomed to dealing with offenses that throw it around a lot more than what the Patriots are going to do.
And Mike, speaking of injuries, maybe we should call them the San Francisco 40 liars. I mean, somebody's lying over there about McCaffrey and what ails him, right? The perps are Jordan Mason and Kyle Shanahan.
Well, Jordan Mason, and this is an old reality from when I practiced law. Whenever somebody says something out loud that is against their obvious interests, it makes it more credible. Yeah. It makes it more believable. Why are you going to lie about something that is negative for whatever it is that you're trying to advance? And when Jordan Mason blurted out to Lisa Salters after the game, when she said, "When did you find out you'd be starting?" He said Friday night, something like that. Whoa, wait a minute. Christian McCaffrey was listed as questionable on Saturday. And this is a product of a bad system in the NFL. The 49ers took advantage of it, as many teams do. You'll see guys get listed as questionable, and if the team that he plays for is the visiting team, he automatically gets downgraded to out when it's time to get on the plane and fly to wherever the next game is. And if it's the home game, you can run it all the way up until kickoff 90 minutes before when they make the players inactive. And I think the problem here, and I think this is where the 49ers should be investigated and potentially punished, at some point between labeling him questionable on Saturday and putting his name on the list of inactive players on Monday 90 minutes before kickoff, he went from questionable to doubtful. And whenever that was, that's when you need to downgrade him. That doesn't give you, and it shouldn't give you, a blank check to hold everything close to the vest and then declare 90 minutes before kickoff whether or not he's going to play. And this isn't just a strategic thing. This isn't fairness on the playing field. If the NFL is going to live in bed with sports books, if owners are allowed to hold up to 5% equity in companies that operate sports books, if the NFL is going to be grabbing every dollar it can from gambling, there's a certain point where you need greater transparency for people who are wagering on Christian McCaffrey prop bets, people who are in 4 cash fantasy football leagues, and Christian McCaffrey is their last remaining player. And if everybody else has played for the weekend, it's not like, what are you going to do, dump him and pick up Jordan Mason? You're screwed at that point. There needs to be an earlier deadline for any type of clear indication that this is something more than the usual questionable guy's likely going to play. And it also, separate and apart from that, it creates a very real vein of inside information that can be misappropriated by the people who know it. So for a lot of reasons, the NFL needs to come up with a better way to have that transparency, and also should whack the 49ers for not downgrading McCaffrey from questionable to doubtful at some point between Saturday and Monday night.
Time for 2 more. With Monday Night Football, do you think Aaron Rodgers is fully engaged? Like just there's part of me that wonders how much it still burns inside of him.
Well, a friend of mine was over watching the game with me on Monday night, and at one point he said Aaron Rodgers looks old. And look, he does. And that's how it works. Father Time is undefeated. And for any quarterback that gets past the age of 40 and can still play, on one hand, that's great. On the other hand, he's not the same guy he used to be. And Aaron Rodgers looked rusty. He had played 4 snaps of meaningful football since the Packers lost at home in the last game of the 2022 regular season to the Detroit Lions and got knocked out of the playoffs. 4 snaps in all that time. So, yeah, I think it's fair to ask, is Aaron Rodgers still the guy? Does he still have it? How many other things around him have to go right? It used to be nothing had to go right. He could make it go right. I think it's now at a stage in his career where a lot of other things around him need to go right. They did have a very nice drive early in the game that created the sense, hey, maybe they will win this game. And then when they were down, what was it like? I can't remember. It was 26-7 or something like that. They did the old patented Packers move where a guy jumps offside, free play, and Aaron Rodgers hit Alan Lazard for a touchdown. But, you know, the rest of the time, and what hurt the Jets and Aaron Rodgers was the defense just got steamrolled by the 49ers. That was the strength of the team last year. Held them together and avoided a 2-15 debacle, and they got embarrassed and outplayed on Monday night. So we'll see. That was a tough game for the Jets. They have some games coming up that they should/could win. Tennessee and New England between Sunday and next Thursday night. They could be 2-1 before you know it, and there'll be a very different vibe around Aaron Rodgers.
And lastly, Kirk Cousins had his troubles with those Steelers. Do you think Atlanta and Kirko are going to be okay?
Well, I've seen this movie before. 3rd and 7, and he's swallowed up by the pass rush. I saw a video yesterday where he's standing differently in shotgun, where he's got his feet at the same level, and also there was an analysis of that, the plant foot, the one that had the Achilles pop. Is he digging it into the ground as aggressively as he has in the past? Because that's exactly what caused the Achilles to pop. It may take him a while to get confidence back in that leg, and they're lucky that there weren't more Falcons fans at that game. It was overrun by Steelers fans in Atlanta on Sunday. The first game where there's a lot of Falcons fans, if it goes like it did on Sunday, you're going to hear, I think, a groundswell for Michael Penix Jr. And if they get outclassed in Philadelphia on Monday night, we get closer and closer to the point where the Falcons are going to be thinking, we got this guy who was the 8th overall pick. Maybe we just need to pivot to him.
My man, that's terrific. Call you next week.
All right, see you, pal.
Mike Florio, ProFootballTalk.com, and NBC's Football Night in America. Now, we begin the second hour of the presentation with the Sultan of Smug, David Sinekin. He's the co-host of Border Battle with 9 to noon. Green Bay played Friday in Brazil, so we held off on the Border Battle Monday, and we will say hello to Cine coming up around the corner. After that, Vikes Bites, and the voice of U.S. Bank Stadium, Alan Roach, joins us about an hour and a half from now. You're listening to 9 to noon.